Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Tonight, I am going to be reacting to the world of Riot's MMO is already done by Necrit. I've been, suggested by a couple of people to react to this specific video and other videos that are attaining to the MMO of Riot. And yes, this is part of League of Legends. Yeah. I've been watching a few videos on League of Legends in terms of the lore, and I've now been directed to go directly to the MMO side of things. So that's where I am right now. And remember, if you want to check out my previous reactions to the other Necrit videos on League of Legends, the playlist card will be at the top. If you want to check out the original video as well as Necrit's YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
In the past, MMOs were regarded as the godfathers of games. They were the...
Wait, where's your introduction animation, and your introduction song? The din 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 din, Okay, alright. I kinda liked it, I was getting used to it. Alright, let's continue.
Peak of what developers could accomplish. Even though, looking back, that's a fairly subjective thing to say. Everyone knew MMOs had the power to create cult following, but also everyone knew making MMOs was hard. On average, an MMO has to spend at least 6 years in the baking before it can get anywhere near being good. But that didn't stop companies from jumping onto the bandwagon anyway. And soon we could see dozens of new MMOs, all releasing in 2008.
Yes, the WoW killers. Yeah, it's because, these companies saw, Blizzard gaining a lot of money, a lot of support from people who support their franchises. And they wanted something like that. They wanted what Blizzard had, and they wanted to copy and paste. And they've been creating their own MMOs, trying to compete with World of Warcraft. However, I don't know whether it was the media or was it the people who supported their businesses, in terms of the games, that kept on stoking this idea of a WoW killer. That's a curse. That's a jinx that you put on yourself as a company and as the game itself. It's the jinx. When you try to compete with, what's out there, don't try to emulate them. Don't try to become too different that you alienate everybody, and also don't come out with that wording of we are going to be the WoW killer. That's a curse. That's a curse. Rather just keep in your lane, keep quiet, do what you want to do. Make sure that it's in the best interest of the players and not your corporate expectations, and you'll survive and you will thrive slowly but surely.
All being called the WoW killers. Spoiler alert, none of them did that. And unfortunately, we can feel the ripple effects even now. It got to a point where every time a new MMO is announced, we all think the same thing. Oh. Anyway.
Oh, Avatar Reckoning? What's that? Okay, that's interesting, I guess.
When you're working on an MMO, you have to respect 3 pillars. Gameplay is king, social interactions matter, and the world setting is important. When Riot announced their MMO, it became clear that 2 of the pillars are being respected, and the third one is already done. When it comes to the gameplay, it is currently in the hands of Ghostcrawler, someone who's been working on WoW during its best times, and someone who got a reputation for hating boomkins and loving mages. When it comes to the social interactions, it is a dance between the developers and the players. A dev can guide players towards social interactions, or they can annihilate them, and after that the players usually find their own fun inside the MMO. From that point on, the devs should do everything in their power to support the players having fun in their own way.
Yes.
And finally, when it comes to the world of an MMO, in Riot's case, it's done. And it's been finished for quite a few years now. In fact, the world of Riot's MMO is in such a good state, they already have the continents, the zones, the cultures and the races. And to a lesser degree, every zone already has its own storyline. Now of course, unless you follow the lore of League of Legends, you wouldn't know about this. And that's why I decided to make this video. I want to show you all the zones we are going to see in the MMO and what sorts of quests we are going to do there. So, for the purpose of this video, I will assume you have no idea what League of Legends is about. You have no idea what the universe is about, but you like MMOs, your hairline is receding, and you have a crippling fear of Nintendo 64 controllers.
My hairline? No, not even close. Don't scare me like this, Necrit.
To which I might add, why do you think I'm wearing hats? But now, without further ado, let's have a look at all the zones in Riot's MMO.
My sympathies are with you.
This is Runeterra, the world of League of Legends. Right now, the world is separated into 10 main regions. But these 10 regions don't cover all the land on the map, so there are some mini-zones in between them. And the lore already revealed that there is gonna be another continent further to the east. That definitely sounds like a future expansion to me. In fact, it would be foolish to release all of these regions at launch. You can easily turn half of these into separate expansions. And because a lot of people already know and love these regions, the hype behind these expansions would be big. With that said, I know a lot of you would like to play as Shrimans or Ionians. And now you may be cursing me for suggesting that these would be expansions. But the lore can justify giving you these nations as playable races without having their regions. I'll show you how Riot can pull this off in a bit. First, let's talk about the regions Riot's MMO has to start with. The Northern Continent. This entire continent is called Valoran.
Okay, hold on. Let me just write it down here. But why should we start with the northern continent and not the southern continent? You know, I mean, isn't that where the greatest civilization is based, or, you know, was the greatest civilization, you know? And also the mountain, Mount Targon. Is it Mount Targon, yes. Created by the Celestials, it's also there. It's a very important magical focal point, you know, and it would be interesting to start where the ruins of a great empire is based, you know. You're trying to find your way through that continent, gain your power in terms of experience in battle or creating magical spells and stuff like that, and then you cross over into the new world, you know. It's no longer the Shurima Empire, but now you're heading into places where the Empire has no control, has no, you know, ability to exude its influence. This is a whole new place. But,
Not Valorant, Valoran. And this is where the absolute core of this world is. The two main regions here are Demacia and Noxus. They are the two big rivals equivalent to the Horde and the Alliance. While I would like to say that Demacia is your classic normie human region, it's not really true. Runeterra doesn't really have a normal place, there is something cool happening in every region. And Demacia has racism. Okay, maybe
racism? Okay.
Maybe not racism, because Demacia doesn't mind Yordles or Minotaurs, but they really hate mages. That's because in the past, their rivals almost annihilated half of the world using magic. And so Demacia was built inside a magic-absorbing forest. Therefore, Demacia is a really cool place where you can hide from magic. When it comes to the visuals of the zone, you can see a lot of lush fields, it is surrounded by mountains, but the iconic part of Demacia are the buildings. They are made of petricite, which is a combination of stone and the magic-absorbing wood. Because these ancient magic-absorbing trees were grey, all the buildings have a marble-like appearance. And yes,
this place is beautiful though, wow. But they hate magic? Ugh. Wow, I mean, that is such a disappointment. I don't know. I would have wanted them to also have magic and stuff like that, but it seems that this place wants to be different. It's okay.
Given what material they are using, all the buildings in Demacia also absorb magic. So should a mage visit this region, let's just say it's gonna be a painful experience. On top of this, let's not forget that Demacians can weaponize Petricite. They can turn it into Petricite Steel, which gives you your classic anti-magic weapons, and you can sculpt Petricite constructs which wake up after absorbing magic.
Isn't that cheating though? I mean, don't they say that they don't like magic and yet they're creating magical beings to defend them? Isn't that a bit, a bit of hypocrisy right there? Oh wow, all right. So they don't like magic being free, but they like magic being used to their own benefit. So magic exists to serve man and not rule over him. This is something similar to Dragon Age right here in terms of this society. They don't tolerate the freedom of magic, but they do tolerate it when they can use it themselves as a service, as a tool for whatever means necessary. Yeah, okay. I see you guys. I see you.
Simply said, these guys just really don't like magic. The irony is, they've been absorbing it for years now. And this is where the story would kick in. You see, the Demacians are so afraid of magic, they founded the Mage Seeker Order. This is an order of people who hunt mages, they throw them into prison, and they torture them until their body gives up on magic. So yes, being a mage is a crime in Demacia.
I would say that they are like the Templars of what is it? Of League of Legends. The Templars in Dragon Age. Yeah, they also seek out people with magic. They incarcerate them in a tower, a magical tower, and they are there just to learn their magical ways and keep themselves in this facility until the day they die. Yes, they can come out here and there for particular reasons. Like if there's a blight, then the Grey Wardens are able to call up a few mages to come and assist them, or to become wardens themselves. Or if they're going to be used in wars between countries, the king can requisition a few mages from the castle to assist his military. However, in this one with Demacia, it seems like they're being incarcerated and tortured to the point where they are not supposed to use their magical abilities. So how is that possible, really? I mean, is it like some sort of like a psychological attack on their minds, and it creates a magical mental block where they can't even think about magic, but they can still do it, but they can't think about doing it? Yeah, I'm just wondering about that.
The thing is, people still get naturally born with magical abilities. You can't stop it from happening. So not only are there mages hiding in the royal court, right now there is a mage civil war happening in Demacia, where mages and people who don't hate mages rise up to fight for moral rights. So should we do some quests in this zone? This is gonna be the core story. Mages trying to overthrow racist leadership following old laws. So the main enemy NPCs might be mages and witches. But I know what you're thinking now, and don't worry. There will be plenty of boars to kill here too. Or at least there are loads of wolves here, as well as stags. And we can't forget the iconic Demacian raptors. But further to the south we might find some crag beasts, tiny woolly elephants, and yes, of course in the Argent Mountains there are also dragons. Loads and loads of dragons. But that's about it for Demacia. Fun fact, the capital city of Demacia is called the Great City of Demacia. Sounds dumb, but Runeterra was not the first one to come up with this. But
it doesn't really sound that dumb. It's okay. It's okay, the entire region is Demacia, but then there is only one city, and that is the Great City of Demacia. Yeah, it works.
Thankfully, the other regions are a bit more creative with their names. So now, let's move away from the normie region and let's have a look at the badass region, Noxus. If you're planning on playing a warrior with oversized weapons and overcompensating lush hair, this is the region for you. This place actually has a long and badass history, but we really don't have the time to explain it now.
You know, this place looks like somewhere in the Valerian Freehold, in A Song of Ice and Fire. It really, like with all these structures, you know, and the way they're designed, with pointiness and jaggedness, and it's black in color, you know, and it just looks like a very, like, fortress kind of looking place. It kind of reminds me of something that I would see in the Valerian Freehold of A Song of Ice and Fire. Definitely, it's beautiful. It's actually quite beautiful. Huh.
So just know that originally it was built by the most badass warrior in the history of Runeterra. This motherfucker literally died on a mountain of corpses. And after he died, he was too angry to stay dead, so he just became the god of the underworld. When this guy lived, he built the Immortal Bastion, which is to this day the largest structure on the entirety of Runeterra.
Okay, so this guy is the god of the underworld. Is he a celestial being? Or is he just some human, or I don't know what he was before he cladded himself with all of this armor? Is he just someone who just appoints himself as the god of the underworld? Yeah. And what underworld? I mean, like, when people die, do they actually go into his realm, you know, and he directs them as he sees fit? Or why is he given that title as the god of the underworld?
And currently he is banished underneath the Immortal Bastion, but only a few people know about it. So, you know, that's a future raid boss. Anyway, the Immortal Bastion is the capital city of the Noxian Empire, with Noxus being one of the most brutal nations in Runeterra. It is brutal because the nation is surrounded by rocky earth. It is hard to grow plants here. So Noxians are forced into conquering surrounding land for resources to survive. That's why when you go to the map you can notice that the Noxian territory is all over the place. It's because these are all the places Noxus has already conquered. Although, when I say it like that, you may imagine Noxus brutally raiding everything. But that's not true. They like to absorb the surrounding nations into their empire. After all, it's just more human resources. Most of the time, they only remove the royalty and they let the leaderless people join their empire. And that's because Noxus values strength above all. And rulers tend to not be good fighters. This is what you can see in the After Victory cinematic. They kill the king because he was weak and let everyone else join them. Fun fact, conquering nations is so iconic for Noxus they have their own saying. Kill them until they are family. So when it comes to the quests in Noxus,
That's insane, but I like it.
it is most likely going to be helping the Empire expand its territory. Although this region has its own unique enemies too. Inside the Immortal Bastion there is a cult known as the Black Rose. This cult is connected to the darkest of magics. So be ready to fight Hemomancers, witches, demons, and the Grey Legion, which is an army of soldiers revived with blood magic to fight for the Empire again. And when it comes to collecting 10 bear asses, here we have the native Drakehounds and Basilisks.
Okay, so the Noxian Empire are using blood magic, you know, as a weapon, as a tool to resurrect their dead, fallen comrades. I thought only the Darken were able to use blood magic, but this is surprising actually. Alright.
Now, while Noxus and Demacia are the main rivals here, both of them are also constantly repelling raids from the north. So now, let's have a look at the Freljord. Just like pretty much any region on Runeterra, Freljord has a long history. But for the purpose of this video, just know that the maddening old gods known as the Watchers of the Void, who want to devour the entire reality only because it keeps waking them up, once tried to breach into reality here. They almost succeeded because they tricked the Ice Witch Lysandra into helping them, Fortunately, she realized how wrong she was, and she managed to freeze half of the kingdom with the Watchers still beneath them. So these days, the Ice Witch is the only person holding back the end of reality by keeping the Watchers frozen. So at some point in the future, you bet one of these woken up frozen Watchers is gonna be a raid boss. Now, when it comes to the NPCs, this is where things get diverse. First of all, remember that the Freljord is brutally cruel. Everything is frozen, and survival is everything. So the first enemy here would be the wildlife. From Rhymefangs to Yetis to Druvasks to Elnuks to Mammoths to the worst of them all, Poros. Next we are going to fight the Freljordians themselves. There are three main tribes here. The Avarosans, who are quite peaceful, the Wintersclaw, who are quite brutal, and the Frostguard, Lyssandra's followers who hold back the Watchers. And
They're kinda cool, though.
let me tell you, these guys have some badass armor. Among the notable tribes there are also the Ursine, which are shamans who worship the Volibear, the primal god of the wild who slowly turns his worshippers into twisted animalistic monstrosities. Speaking of which, yes, there are also the primal gods of Freljord. And finally, we need to talk about the Iceborn. When the Watchers tried to arrive here, they tainted the ice around them. This special ice is called the True Ice. And it is so dangerous, you literally die if you touch it. However, the Watchers also tainted some people, giving them the ability to touch the ice. It is still extremely painful for them to hold a true ice weapon, but at least they can survive it. These people are known as the Iceborn. But people were not the only things that were tainted. There are also ice trolls, some of whom are also Iceborn. To be honest, these guys were made to have their own dungeon. But there are also some animals that were twisted by the Watchers. And Lysandra is even twisting some beings herself to make them serve her. So overall, Freljord is gonna have a lot of cool warriors, shamans, and horrors.
You know, I thought Lysandra was dead after she sacrificed her entire people or half of a kingdom to freeze the Watchers, and she also, took down her own sisters, making sure that the Watchers would be contained in this ice. So I thought maybe she was also in this ice and she's dead, But it seems like she's still alive somehow, and she's creating servants to protect her, and as well as the ice that's holding back the Watchers. Okay.
So these would be the three regions on the main continent. But this place is actually so big it can easily make the base world of the game. Especially since there are a bunch of smaller regions in between them. There is Nockmerge, full of witches, Argent Mountains with their dragons, Tokugol with void monsters, Dalamore Plains with him, and so much more. But from here, you can cleverly set up the expansions because of how well everything is interconnected. So now, let's have a look at the continent to the east called Ionia. Ionia has a very close connection to Noxus. You can only guess why. It's because Noxians once tried to conquer it all during an event simply called the Invasion of Ionia. This was a horrible war full of using children as soldiers because Noxians thought Ionians...
Wait, what? They were using children? Child soldiers? Oh my gosh.
wouldn't fight back against children? And chemical weapons. Lots and lots of chemical weapons. Speaking of which, remember Singed from Arcane? He's the guy who chemically devastated Ionia. Eventually, Noxus failed, but they kept their small controlled territory.
You know what? I forgot that Arcane is also associated with League of Legends. Oh my gosh. You know what, guys? I have to watch that series again. Just so that I acclimatize myself with, this MMO or this future MMO. It's not yet out. But I need to acclimatize with it again. So I need to watch Arcane. Definitely. For a second time. Like, I only watched it once. The entire series only once. And I was done with it. It was enjoyable. But I just never got that feeling to watch it for a second time or a third time, with just once was enough. But now that I'm getting into the lore of League of Legends, things are changing. I need to, you know, know my bearings again.
Stories. So the first quest here could be simply boarding a ship, sailing over, and exploring the place for the Noxian Empire. Now, when it comes to Ionia itself, the place gets mystical. Everything here is alive and connected to the spirit of nature. And I mean everything, from the animals to the people to the buildings. Everything is alive. So if you anger Mother Nature, your house can twist and strangle you in your sleep. So you can only imagine how Mother Nature fought against Noxians. Usually a river came alive to drown them. That's why all the buildings here look like they were woven from wood. It's because they were. With nature magic, people let nature build their houses. It also means that sometimes your house can just walk away. When it comes to the NPCs here, obviously there is gonna be a lot of nature spirits. And a lot more of simply mystical animals. From giant flying tigers to the never-ending story. But be ready to also face local Ionians, Blade Masters, Shadow Cultists, Murderers, and Ninjas. Both good, bad, and the in-between. But
This is amazing. Also, when Necrit was talking about them being connected with nature and nature's connected with them, you know, it kind of sounds like a hive mind. You know, the entire Ionian continent, if I can say, or island, is so connected with each other that they're able to know and understand everything that happens around the island. So if there's an invasion from the Noxians coming in from the west or east, they would all the people on the island would be able to know almost immediately that they're being attacked and they need to defend their homeland. Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. That they have a hive mind. Huh.
Finally, there is also one more enemy that we could face. The furries. That's right, this race is known as the Vastaya. They are half humans and half magical animals. And yes, canonically, the species was born in exactly the way you are thinking. But to be fair, the Vastaya are quite cool and they are definitely gonna be a playable race. Just like Yordles, who also like Ionia a lot. Lastly, after Noxians ravaged Mother Nature, demons started occupying all the places filled with misery and doubt. So that's gonna be a nice bonus enemy. So yes, the exploration of Ionia and the raid on the Shadow Order could be a really cool first expansion. But it's definitely not Riot's only option, because we can also go south to Piltover and Zone. These
Yes. This is the place in Arcane, right? Wow, and it's so strategically placed, actually. It's very strategically placed for the northern continent and the southern continent. And there's a lot of technological innovation and magic being used in this place. I don't know about how big the population is in terms of the city of Piltover. I think it was Piltover. And, you know, but it is strategically placed, and it could be like the center of the world, if I would say it like that, you know. It would be the New York of Runeterra, definitely.
are the ones people will know about, simply because this is where Arcane took place. Piltover and Zone are two massive cities located one above the other. And they are so massive they could easily be turned into their own playable zones. They are both focusing on futuristic technology powered up by magic of the Hextech gemstones. Using this magic, they can power up anything from guns to augmented limbs to vehicles. Visually, it is simply futuristic Victorian era. And unfortunately, there wouldn't be much of enemy variety. We would likely fight the rich houses of Piltover and their deadly assassins, with the occasional thief on the streets, corrupt wardens, and the occasional rogue steam golem. But
Now, I think Piltover and Zon would be mainly, you know, your base of operations. I think. I don't know. Like, you would spawn in that city and then you'd start your adventure, whether on the northern continent or the southern continent, or you go over to the east to Ionia or wherever else. So yeah.
Things get a bit more interesting in the undercity known as Zone. Zone is the dirty underbelly covered in thick toxic smoke. Because the majority of people are poor here, they developed a cheaper alternative to Hextech called Chemtech. This artificial green stuff can power up cheaper limb replacements, as well as highly unstable weaponry. Zone is also controlled by the Chem Barons, which are obviously gonna be the main enemy here. But on the side, we may also meet some chemical mutants, unstable constructs, as well as some mass murderers and people who hunt down mass murderers. And funnily enough, at the very bottom of Zone itself, there are the hidden ruins of an ancient city full of traps. That is obviously gonna be a cool dungeon. So yes, there is not much more that I can add here. Piltover and Zone were simply explored in Arcane. So if you like the series, you are gonna like this place.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch it again.
From here, we can travel further south to Shurima. Shurima used to be a massive empire that ruled the world. But after the emperor got betrayed by his best friend, the entire empire collapsed. This region is a massive desert with the occasional city near a river. In the center of the region, there is the Sun Disk, a colossal piece of star metal that has the power to reflect celestial magic. The Shurimans use this celestial magic to turn their best soldiers into the Ascended, also known as the Golden God Warriors. However, these God Warriors wouldn't make a great enemy here. That's because after the Emperor had died, the Ascended started fighting for leadership. And slowly, after learning how to use blood magic to gain the edge, they morphed their own bodies and became the Darkin. Twisted, blood-frenzied monsters that would certainly make really cool raid bosses. Besides this ancient evil, Shurima is also full of its own animals, raiders, dune scavengers, and on top of all of that, void creatures. That's because to the south there used to be a kingdom known as Icathia that wanted to destroy the Shuriman Empire. So, they asked the Watchers for help. You can imagine how that went. The Watchers sent through some void beasts that consumed Icathia and polluted Shurima to this day. To fight back the void, Shurima does have a lot of hidden tombs around with hidden God Warrior weapons. Not to mention that Shurima also has a circle of time mages who are trying to freeze the void in time. Now, as I mentioned near the beginning of the video, even if Shurima becomes an expansion, they can still easily make Shurimans a playable race because they are already connected to Noxus. As you can see, of course, Noxians already conquered part of Shurima, so some Shurimans are fighting for Noxus. Also, as a cool fact, for those of you who liked Arcane, Hex Crystals are harvested in Shurima. That's why a Shuriman expansion would be a great follow-up to Piltover and Zone. And again, that's why Riot can easily turn only the northern continent into the base world. Anyway, going
Okay, I understand now. I understand.
west from Shurima, we arrive at Mount Targon. This place is incredibly unique. First of all, this mountain is not natural. It was literally pulled up from the ground by celestial gods. And that's because this place serves as a portal to the celestial realm, also known as Targon Prime. Now, because this mountain was pulled up, it also has some unique features. For example, you may find frozen lakes frozen horizontally on the mountain. And the very peak of the mountain is special too. Should a mortal reach the peak despite the brutal climate and the deadly wildlife, either they die from exhaustion, or the celestial gods deem them worthy and they become an ascended aspect. There is aspect of war, aspect of the sun, aspect of the moon, aspect of the twilight, aspect of the guardian, and so on. Simply said, after people reach the peak, they become some of the strongest beings on the entire planet. So of course, the mountain is full of people who worship the celestial demigods. And I speculate this is where we could get a lot of cool armor sets. There are the Solari, who are devoted to the aspect of the sun. Then there are their rivals, the Lunari, who are devoted to the aspect of the moon. But also the tribe I assume will become a playable class, the Warriors of Rakor. Of course, besides just humans, Targon also has all sorts of furry Vastaya. Near the bottom of the mountain you may notice that the mountain is alive, but also there are Stellarcorns, a variety of mind-bending creatures, and loads of dragons. Speaking of which, remember that this place is linked to the Celestial Realm.
Hopefully you'll be able to ride the dragons, or you'll become a dragon race. I don't know. I'm thinking about Dragonflight here, guys. Sorry. World of Warcraft Dragonflight is infiltrating my mind as soon as he talks about dragons.
So this is where we may also meet the star-forging celestial dragon Aurelian Soul, as well as all sorts of other celestial beings. A lot of these would make for interesting bosses. In fact, the ascension of Mount Targon would be a really cool raid. Next, on the other side of Shurima, there is Ishtal. This is a special place where people are mastering the elemental magic. They are using it for everything: fishing, smithing, walking, and this place is definitely gonna be saved for an expansion. Basically, remember when Ikathien asked the Watchers for help? And then that happened? Ishtal was their neighbor, and after they saw the Void devour an entire kingdom, they believed the Void would soon devour the entire world. So, using their elemental magic, Ishtal built massive walls of plants around their entire region, isolating themselves from the rest of the world.
Wow, okay, this kind of reminds me of Pandaria, It kind of reminds me of Pandaria. When the world of Azeroth was being shattered, the Pandaria itself was protected from that calamity. As the world was being, shaken and destroyed, the entire supercontinent that was Azeroth was being broken up into pieces. But Pandaria was protected, and it was kept away from all the other continents, and the people on that island, or that continent I should say, continued on with their existence. They did not know anything beyond their continent of Pandaria until people came to their continent, in terms of the orcs and the Horde and the Alliance, until they came on the island and they realized that, there's new people here, there's an entire civilization here. And I'm thinking it's going to be the same way with these people, Yeah. Huh. Okay.
For 3,500 years, Ishtal stayed isolated, believing that the world outside of their walls was devoured by the Void. But now, very recently, some mages found out that the world outside is completely fine. So now, the Ishtali mages are slowly revealing themselves. To be honest, Ishtal is the most underdeveloped region in Runeterra.
That's under development? Okay. Oh, wow.
We know the region has a lot of hunting Vastaya, deadly plants and some elemental dragons, but most of the region is still a mystery to us. So at least here, Riot will have the freedom to try something new. But now, we leave the main continent to visit the last two regions. First of all, there is Bilgewater. If you like pirate adventures, this is gonna be your place. This is where we are going to explore inns and gambling dens, even some local temples worshipping the god of motion, Nagake Boros. Here we are going to fight pirates and sea monsters, sea witches, sea Vastaya, maybe some demons. And possibly we'll side with Sarah Fortune to fight the king of the pirates, Gangplank. But there's a lot more here. Last year, Riot released their RPG, which was set in Bilgewater. So not only can we already explore this place in detail, but it even has a monster journal. And at a quick glance, you can already see some really cool bosses too. However, this place is also linked to the last place I want to show you today, the Shadow Isles. See, every year the horrors of the Shadow Isles lurk out, and Bilgewater just happens to be the closest place. So every year, Bilgewater is fighting the undead. Once upon a time, the Shadow Isles used to be the Blessed Isles, a rich place full of advanced magic. Long story short, there was a young asshole king who wanted to revive his dead queen. And in the process, he accidentally released dark necromantic magic. This magic destroyed the island and made it home for undeath. In the lore, this event is called the Ruination. And because the RPG is called The Ruined King, it may not be a surprise to you that you also get to explore the Shadow Isles there. And there they have anything you can imagine. Undead horrors creeping everywhere. And
why does it seem as if, you know, the places where there's a large concentration or a huge concentration of magic, you know, it tends to be a cursed place? I just think about the former Shurima Empire, you know, crumbling at the seams on the southern continent. And then you also have the Shadow Isles. They're suffering because of people who've been delving into necromancy magic. And then you also have the Demacians who are so hell-bent on exterminating those with magic, you know, because of their previous wars with people with magic. It's as if, you know, magic is not something that you should be proud of having in this world. It's something that you'd consider as a curse, you know, instead of something that is welcomed or something that can be respected, like a respected power, you know, in this world. But it's not like that. It's either people fear it, they have serious distaste for it, and, you know, they want to eliminate you as soon as possible. So yeah, and the places where magic does thrive, the people there are very, you know, combative and wild, if you could say that, you know. So wow.
should we ever venture into these islands? I have no idea whom we're going to fight. The ruined king who caused all of this is banished
He's cool.
elsewhere. Thresh, who siphoned his magic after he was banished, also left the Isles. And even Hecarim, the most brutal soldier of them all, is currently around Demacia. So the Shadow Isles don't currently have a main baddie. So this is where Riot could push forward some of the side characters. Now, even though these have all been the regions that are currently set up on Runeterra, Riot has already confirmed that there is a new continent further to the east. Currently, it is planned to be revealed in the upcoming Ruination novel. And so far, we know that this new continent is where the ruined King Viego is from. And this is also where he was banished at the end of his story. All we know about that place is that it is quite mystical. There are yet more dragons here, and in fact, Kamavor, which is the ruined king's nation, has a lot of draconic armor. So should Riot run out of places to explore, don't worry, they can always make up more. But that's all I wanted to show you today. As someone who's been following the lore of League of Legends from the very beginning, I can tell you, I'm very confident the setting of Riot's MMO is gonna be great. Their incredible writers have been preparing the world for years now. And now, it's time to harvest the fruit. If you like this video, let me know in the comments below. Because right now, I still have 3 more topics that I could talk about in regards to the MMO. I especially want to talk about the potential raid bosses we can face, and the potential classes we could play. And as someone who has collected an unholy amount of transmog, I would love to show you all the cool armor sets this universe has. But that's it for this video. See you in 6 to 8 years when the MMO gets released.
6 to 8 years? No, I'm sorry, no, that's just too far. That's just too far. Maybe by then my hair will be receding. Oh gosh, 6 to 8 years. I hope you're joking, Necrit. I can't do that. Okay guys, that's it with the world of Riot's MMO is already done by Necrit. Yes, the game has an amazing setting, it has amazing lore, You know, I also believe that this MMO is going to become a success. Really, I do believe it is going to become a success. I don't know when is it going to be done. I mean, here's Necrit saying 6 to 8 years. Like, that's just very sad for me. But for young people, you know, who will be having access to computers and to the internet and stuff like that 6 to 8 years into the future, yeah, they'll be lucky. They'll be very lucky. They'll be able to enjoy this world. And I will be one of those, you know, old people saying, back in my day, we were still talking about this game coming into existence, you know, and they wouldn't give a damn about what I have to say about it. But yeah, you know, I'm happy. I'm happy that, you know, Riot Games is focusing on this MMO project, and, you know, League of Legends is going to have a new, fresh perspective, you know, no longer dealing with the games of before, but it's now dealing with something that is going to be far more tangible, if I can say that. You know, this MMO is going to be far more tangible. You'll be able to go into these distant planes, as well as these continents, you know, as a player, walking around, interacting with the people, interacting with the environment, and it will be far more filling, I think. I don't know, for me it would be. I don't know for you guys if you feel any kind of difference if it's going to be an MMO, but I think for me it would be a far more interactive, you know, storyline and lore, if it was done in this platform like an MMO. So yeah, hopefully it comes out sooner than 6 to 8 years. Hopefully it does. And I understood what Necrit was saying, that, you know, probably the game, or should I say you as a player, would first start in the northern continent of Valorant. I do understand it now. At first I wanted to be, you know, in the former Shireen Empire, you know, where that's where you would start, in the old world, because it was one of the first civilizations, if I'm not mistaken, you know, one of the oldest civilizations, and that's where you would start, and you would start exploring the new world that is Valorant in the north. And, you know, you'd also have your focal point of celestial energy in Mount Tolgon, you know, where you would learn your most powerful abilities. Yeah, something like that. I really thought that that's where they would start, but I understand what Necrit is saying when he says it should start in the northern continent of Valorant. And yeah, guys, I guess that's it. That's it for tonight. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as Necrit's YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I'll see you guys next week with another installment from Necrit. Alright? Bye-bye.